Today, I'm going to talk about three kinds of sea monsters. That's right, sea monsters. Many cultures have stories of huge animals that live in the water and are occasionally seen by people. These stories have survived for hundreds or even thousands of years, perhaps because people have a feeling that they might be true. After all, large lakes and oceans are dark, mysterious places. But even more interesting is the fact that sea monsters did exist at one time. The first sea monster I'll tell you about may be the world's most famous. Her name is Nessie, and she lived, or lives, in Scotland, in a body of water called Loch Ness. Stories about Nessie really took off in the 1700s, when scientists began to find fossils in the area. As you know, fossils are the skeletons of animals preserved in rock. These fossils were from ancient sea reptiles, dinosaurs really, so people began to speculate that Nessie was some kind of dinosaur that had somehow survived into modern times in the cold water of Loch Ness. It might sound unlikely, but many people say they have seen the monster. Next, in North America, there are stories about another kind of water monster called the Unctahila. According to some Native American tribes, the Unctahila were big trouble. They looked like giant snakes or lizards, and they ate everything and everyone, including each other. According to the legends, the thunder beings had to destroy the evil Unctahila so that everything else could live. In fact, millions of years ago, there were sea creatures in North America, such as the gigantic mosasaur, with impressive rows of sharp teeth, much like a modern alligator or crocodile. It's understandable that people would fear an animal like that. And before scientists began to study the fossils of animals like the mosasaur, Native Americans found the bones and used them in special ceremonies. Now, in China, legendary reptiles called dragons represented many things, including good luck. At a place called Lurking Dragon Hill, residents and scientists often find the fossils of small sea reptiles. Of course, Chinese stories about dragons are thousands of years old, so there are many versions of the stories, and a few of the dragons were not very nice. But since most dragons lived in the water, they were able to bring rain when there was drought. And according to the stories, the ocean dragons protected people in boats and ships. What's interesting to me is that Nessie, the Unctahila, and the Chinese dragons are just some of the many stories about sea monsters. Is it possible that some of the prehistoric sea reptiles survived long enough for people to know about them? Or is it the fossil remains of these animals that have inspired the stories? We may never know, but that's okay. Everyone loves a mystery.